Chosen one, something stirred in the unseen and your spirit felt it before your mind could explain it. A sudden stillness, a subtle pull, a whisper that came out of nowhere. Heaven just called your name. It wasn't random, it wasn't coincidence, it was divine timing activating in real time. This moment was written long before you arrived here, and what you're feeling right now is a sacred summoning. The call isn't to frighten you, it's to awaken you. Heaven doesn't call the comfortable, it calls the ready, and the truth is you've reached a point in your journey where silence can no longer hold what your soul was built to carry. You've been chosen for something beyond comprehension, and Heaven has decided it's time. Before we go deeper, stay with me until the end of this message. Don't scroll away, don't rush through. This energy was meant to meet you right here, right now. Take a breath, feel the moment, then write your warmest wishes and 777 in the comments below. That number carries the vibration of divine connection and answered prayers. When you write it, you're saying to the universe, I am ready to receive what heaven has prepared for me. I align with peace, purpose, and divine truth. It's not superstition, it's spiritual activation. The moment you do this, your energy signals heaven that you are open, aligned, and ready for instruction. Your wishes will begin to move, not because you forced them, but because heaven heard your readiness. Now listen closely. This isn't an ordinary season of your life, it's a divine crossroads. You've felt it lately, the restlessness, the changes, the way your old life suddenly feels too small. Heaven's call always begins with discomfort. It's not punishment, it's preparation. You've been walking a path that has quietly reached its expiration date. You can't stay where you are anymore because your soul doesn't fit there. You've completed that chapter, and heaven is calling you to step into a new dimension of purpose, one that requires a deeper version of you. This is why things have been shifting, why people have drifted, why silence has grown louder. Heaven has been clearing your space, stripping away noise so you can finally hear the call. You've probably been sensing signs but dismissing them. Repeating numbers, recurring dreams, random waves of emotion that make no sense. Moments when the air itself feels charged. Those weren't random. They were heaven's way of getting your attention. Every coincidence has been confirmation, every delay a redirection, every loss a realignment. You're not being punished, you're being positioned. Heaven doesn't speak in chaos, it speaks in patterns. And lately, everything around you has started forming one. That pattern is destiny weaving itself together. The call you're hearing is sacred. It doesn't come through thunder or fire. It comes through awareness. Heaven rarely shouts, it whispers. And those whispers are growing stronger because your spirit has matured enough to recognize them. You're not being called because you're perfect. You're being called because you're prepared. The years of hardship, the nights of silence, the storms that almost broke you, they were all training. Every heartbreak, every delay, every rejection wasn't meant to end you, it was meant to build you. Heaven was molding your character long before you knew your purpose, and now the call is clear. It's time to use everything you've learned. Heaven's call doesn't always sound like opportunity, sometimes it sounds like isolation. When the divine wants to speak to you clearly, it removes distractions first. That's why you've felt distant from certain people. That's why doors you thought were permanent suddenly closed. It's not abandonment, it's sacred separation. Heaven isolates the chosen to elevate their hearing. What you're feeling right now isn't loneliness, it's consecration. You're being set apart, not left behind. The silence is divine strategy. It's heaven preparing the next chapter while keeping you hidden from unnecessary noise. But let's be honest, being chosen isn't easy. There's a weight that comes with hearing the call. It's not glamorous, it's sacred responsibility. You start to feel things others ignore. You notice energy shifts before they happen. You carry empathy that feels too heavy at times. That's because you're not meant to walk blindly anymore. You're meant to see. The call awakens spiritual sight, and once your eyes are open, you can never return to ignorance. You'll start recognizing who's real and who's not. You'll feel truth vibrating in your body. You'll begin to see purpose where others see coincidence. That awareness is both gift and test. The divine won't show you more until you prove you can handle what you've already seen. And right now, heaven is watching how you respond to this calling. Will you run back to comfort, or will you answer? Will you trust the unknown, or cling to what's fading? The next chapter of your life depends on your response. Heaven doesn't call everyone, it calls those who can carry light through darkness. The world doesn't need more noise, it needs clarity. And you've been chosen to be that. Your voice, your presence, your story. It's not random, it's an assignment. That's why your spirit has been uneasy, because you've been delaying your destiny. This is your awakening moment. The place you're in right now is sacred ground, even if it feels unfamiliar. The confusion, the uncertainty, the longing, they're all signs of divine transformation. You're being called to shift from survival to service, from existing to embodying purpose. Heaven doesn't call you to escape the world. It calls you to influence it. Everything you've endured has equipped you with compassion, strength, and resilience. You've learned how to survive storms, so you can now help others through theirs. That's your divine function, to turn your pain into purpose. The coming days will bring confirmation. You'll hear messages, encounter people, or experience dreams that repeat what your spirit already knows. Don't ignore them. When heaven calls, it repeats itself until you listen. The first call feels like a whisper, the second feels like a sign, and the third feels like urgency. You're already between the second and third. You can feel it, that pressure, that awareness that something is about to shift. That's your cue. It's not fear you're feeling, it's activation. Your spirit is aligning with a higher assignment, one that's been waiting for you all along. The divine isn't asking you to be fearless, it's asking you to be faithful. You don't need to have it all figured out, you just need to answer with trust. Say yes to what you can't see yet. Move even if you don't know where it leads. Every great transformation begins with obedience to a whisper. Heaven isn't asking for perfection, it's asking for willingness. And if you're still reading this, that means you're already halfway there. The fact that this message found you means you were meant to hear it. The call wasn't coincidence, it was confirmation. So take a deep breath and remember this: heaven doesn't call the qualified, it qualifies the called. You are not being chosen because you're flawless, but because you're faithful. Because your heart still believes even after everything tried to break it. Because your light still shines even after the world tried to dim it. Because heaven sees in you what you often forget about yourself: resilience, love, and divine potential. This is not the end of your story, it's the beginning of your mission. Heaven just called your name, and this time you're ready to answer. When heaven calls, everything around you begins to respond. The energy shifts, the silence deepens. Time itself starts to feel different, as though reality is breathing in rhythm with your spirit. You begin to notice things that others overlook, the way light flickers when you think of something sacred, how a single phrase spoken by a stranger feels like it carries a hidden message. You're not imagining it. Heaven communicates through alignment, and your life has just become a canvas for divine coordination. The invisible world has turned its attention toward you, and nothing will ever feel ordinary again. At first, it may feel overwhelming. You might feel an ache in your heart, a sense that something larger than you is stirring, but you can't define it. You may wake in the middle of the night feeling a presence, a warmth that isn't physical but unmistakably real. These are not random sensations, they're confirmations. The divine often speaks through awareness before it sends clarity. The call you felt wasn't metaphorical, it was a transmission of energy that only the chosen can perceive. Your spirit has been tuned to heaven's frequency, and that frequency doesn't fade once it's awakened. This phase of the journey is both beautiful and disorienting. The divine begins to separate what's real from what's noise. Certain people who once felt like your foundation suddenly feel distant. Old dreams begin to dissolve. Conversations lose their meaning. Even your thoughts change rhythm. You start craving depth instead of distraction, solitude instead of attention, peace instead of noise. That's how you know heaven is working on you. It strips away the temporary to reveal the eternal. Every emptiness you feel is a space being cleared for purpose. You are not losing yourself. You are shedding what's false. You might not realize it yet, but heaven has already started rearranging your steps. Encounters are being designed, paths are being redrawn, and delays are being rewritten as redirections. When heaven calls, it also orders. Every obstacle you face now isn't a blockage, it's choreography. The divine is weaving timing, people, and opportunity into a seamless sequence that only makes sense in hindsight. The closed doors aren't rejection, they're protection. The silence isn't abandonment, it's recalibration. You are walking through divine architecture, and each step you take is unlocking something unseen. And while the outer world begins to shift, your inner world transforms even faster. Your discernment sharpens, your empathy deepens, you start sensing truth in the people's tones, sincerity in their eyes, intention in their silence. You can feel lies without hearing them and love without seeing it. That's not paranoia, it's perception. Heaven expanding your awareness. You're being trained to see spiritually what others only see physically. This heightened sensitivity is part of your calling. The divine is trusting you with vision, and that vision requires stillness, not noise. There will be moments when this sensitivity feels like a burden. You'll feel misunderstood, even isolated, because not everyone around you can hear what you hear or feel what you feel. You'll try to explain it, but words will fall short. And that's okay. You're not supposed to be understood by everyone. You're supposed to be guided. The people meant to walk with you will feel it too. They'll recognize your energy even if they can't name it. That's how divine alignment works. It gathers frequencies, not followers. The ones meant to walk beside you will vibrate on your wavelength naturally. No convincing required. In this stage, heaven will begin to send you quiet assignments. They won't always come as commands. Sometimes they'll arrive as ideas that won't leave your mind, or a feeling that you're meant to help someone, create something, speak something. Those ideas are not imagination, they're instruction. You'll feel compelled to move, even when it doesn't make sense. The divine doesn't explain the mission before you step, it reveals it as you walk. You're being trained to obey the whisper without waiting for the thunder. That's how faith grows, through motion, not understanding. You'll also notice your timing changing. Things that once felt delayed will now happen with surprising ease. The divine starts aligning opportunities that match your readiness. You won't need to chase. What's meant for you will flow toward you. Heaven is efficient. It doesn't waste effort on confusion. Every moment will begin to feel guided, every decision intuitive, every coincidence precise. The more you trust this flow, the stronger it becomes. Doubt slows divine motion. Surrender accelerates it. You are learning how to walk in rhythm with heaven itself. But be prepared. The call also comes with pruning. You can't take everything or everyone into this next phase. Some attachments will fall away no matter how tightly you hold them. Don't mourn the loss. The divine doesn't remove what's meant to stay. When heaven calls, it doesn't just elevate, it purifies. Anything built on fear, ego, or deception will dissolve in the light of divine truth. You are being refined, not punished. Every goodbye that hurts now will one day make sense when you see what it made room for. Eventually, you'll notice something profound. The fear of the unknown fades. The more you walk in faith, the lighter everything feels. You'll stop asking, "Why me?" and start whispering, "Thank you." The pain that once confused you becomes proof that you were chosen. You realize heaven never calls without purpose, and it never calls without timing. Every heartbeat, every step, every tear was leading you here, to the awareness that you are not walking alone. You never were. So don't question the pull, chosen one. When heaven calls, it's because your name was written on an assignment only you can fulfill. The silence, the signs, the sudden shifts, they're not coincidences, they're coordinates. You're being led to divine alignment, one whisper at a time. Answer the call not with fear, but with faith. Because once heaven calls you, no earthly noise can drown it out. When you finally stop resisting the pull and answer the call, something begins to change inside you. It's subtle at first, like a quiet warmth blooming in your chest, a calm that doesn't come from logic but from something eternal. You start to realize that this isn't a season of confusion, it's a season of confirmation. The divine has chosen you not because of what you've done, but because of who you are at your core. Heaven doesn't call based on status or perfection, it calls based on purpose. And yours has begun to awaken. You can feel it in your bones, a deep remembering of something your soul always knew but your mind forgot. As this awareness deepens, the veil between the seen and unseen starts to thin. You sense guidance in moments that used to feel empty. You hear divine rhythm in the silence. Your intuition becomes louder, clearer, more precise. The choices you make now feel guided by something larger than yourself. The right people begin to appear out of nowhere, saying the right things at the right time. Synchronicities multiply. Every coincidence becomes too perfect to ignore. That's heaven confirming that you're walking in the right direction. You are no longer chasing signs, they are chasing you. But this awakening also brings a kind of sacred heaviness. You begin to see Yife differently. You start noticing the illusions of the world, the false promises, the empty distractions, the way fear disguises itself as logic. It can be unsettling to see through so much, but it's necessary. The divine cannot elevate you if you still cling to what deceives you. That's why, in this phase, truth becomes your teacher. It won't always be soft, it won't always be comforting, but it will be pure. Heaven doesn't reveal truth to hurt you, it reveals it to free you. Every realization that breaks your heart is actually opening it wider for light to enter. You'll begin to notice that what once drained you now repels you. Certain conversations will feel too heavy. Certain habits will lose their pull. You'll stop forcing yourself to fit into energies that shrink you. This isn't arrogance, it's awakening. When your frequency rises, what doesn't match it naturally falls away. Don't chase what detaches. The divine is editing your environment to match your new vibration. The silence that follows isn't emptiness, it's alignment. You're not losing people, you're losing distortion. You're not becoming cold, you're becoming clear. In these moments, heaven begins to strengthen your spiritual sight. You start understanding things without needing explanation. You'll walk into rooms and sense the truth before a word is spoken. You'll feel the energy of people before they reveal their intentions. You'll recognize deceit, not by logic, but by vibration. It's not paranoia, it's perception, sharpened by divine calibration. The call has upgraded your discernment because the path ahead requires vision, not blindness. The divine is teaching you to read energy, not language. And yet even with this power, there's a humility that settles into your soul. You realize that this calling isn't about control, it's about surrender. It's not about knowing everything, it's about trusting the one who does. You don't need to understand every detail to take the next step. The path is revealed one breath at a time, one moment after another. The divine doesn't rush destiny, it unfolds it with precision. Every pause is protection, every delay is divine timing. You're learning patience not as waiting, but as trust. You no longer need proof, you are the proof. There will come nights where you feel heaven closer than ever. You might sense warmth around you, or light flickering unexpectedly, or a whisper that brings instant peace. Don't dismiss it. That's the divine confirming its nearness. Heaven doesn't always speak in thunder, it often moves in tenderness. The peace that settles over you after prayer, the stillness you feel after surrender, that's heaven's presence. You're being guided, guarded, and grown in ways that transcend words. Every time you choose stillness over panic, you strengthen your connection to the divine. And as this connection deepens, your purpose becomes clearer. You'll realize that your life isn't random, it's rhythmic. Every challenge you've faced has been training. Every heartbreak was refinement. Every delay was redirection. The divine has been sculpting you in secret so that When this calling arrived, you'd be ready to carry it with grace. That's why you survived storms that should have drowned you. That's why you endured nights that felt endless. You weren't being destroyed, you were being developed. And now everything begins to make sense. You'll notice a strange confidence begin to rise, not loud, not prideful, but steady and sure. You no longer question if you're enough because you understand you were never chosen by mistake. Heaven doesn't make random selections. It saw your endurance, your faith, your love, and said, "This one is ready." That realization changes how you move. You no longer chase validation. You no longer crave understanding. You simply walk in peace, knowing that your steps are synchronized with something greater. You are walking proof that when heaven calls, it equips. It provides strength when you feel empty, clarity when you feel lost, and peace when the world feels loud. You've stepped into a sacred partnership between your will and divine will, and nothing can separate you from that alignment now. You've answered the call, not with noise, but with surrender. And heaven in return begins to rearrange everything in your favor. This is not the end of your transformation, it's the beginning of your divine authority. You are no longer waiting for confirmation, you are the confirmation. Heaven didn't call you by accident, it called you by name. When you begin to live from that divine alignment, everything around you begins to recognize it. The world feels different, not because it changed, but because you did. The air feels lighter, sounds seem clearer, and even silence carries meaning. You've stepped into the kind of peace that can't be explained, only experienced. Heaven's call has transformed from a whisper in your ear to a rhythm in your steps. You no longer question if you're on the right path because everything inside you hums in harmony with truth. You wake up every day knowing that something sacred walks with you, moves through you, and speaks for you. You're not just living anymore, you're leading with light. This is when heaven begins to use you as a vessel. Your words start carrying weight, even in casual conversation. Your presence brings calm to chaotic rooms. People who cross your path sense something different, even if they can't name it. That's not coincidence, it's your spirit radiating divine frequency. Heaven doesn't need you to be perfect, it needs you to be pure. And now that you've surrendered, you've become a channel for peace itself. You may not even notice it, but your energy is healing others. A simple smile, a single word of kindness, a moment of compassion. These are now sacred tools in your hands. As this awareness grows, you'll begin to understand that your life is not about possession, but transmission. You're not meant to own light, you're meant to become it. Every challenge you faced, every scar you carry, every prayer you whispered in the dark, they've all turned into wisdom that flows through you now. You've learnt that light doesn't mean perfection, it means presence. You can walk through storms without fear because you know you're covered. You can comfort others without draining yourself because your strength no longer comes from you, it comes through you. That's the power of being chosen. The divine flows endlessly where surrender is real. You may still face tests in this stage, but you'll notice something. Peace doesn't leave you anymore. It stays even when things go wrong. You've learned that chaos doesn't dictate truth, it only tests it. Your foundation is no longer fragile because it's built on something eternal. You don't need signs as much as before because you've become sensitive to divine rhythm itself. You've learnt to feel when something aligns and when it doesn't, to move without fear and to rest without guilt. That is spiritual maturity, knowing that you're guided even in silence. Heaven will start trusting you with more in this season, more responsibility, more influence, more people to touch. Don't shrink from it. You were prepared for this long before you knew it. You'll begin to notice that everything you've ever experienced has given you language for someone else's healing. You'll speak, and their spirit will recognize itself in your words. That's how the divine multiplies light through resonance. You've become living evidence that pain can turn into power, loss into wisdom, and confusion into clarity. And even though this stage is brighter, it's also humbler. You realize that you don't need recognition. You no longer crave being seen because you know heaven sees everything. You don't need to defend your purpose, you just live it. People may not understand your peace, and that's okay. It wasn't meant for their understanding. You've outgrown the need to explain what is sacred. You're learning that the highest form of power is quiet obedience, not loud ambition. Heaven doesn't measure success by applause, but by alignment. As your purpose expands, your surroundings will continue to shift. Some doors will open so effortlessly that you'll laugh at how hard you used to try. Some opportunities will appear at the perfect time, proving that divine timing was never delayed. It was deliberate. You'll see prayers answered in unexpected ways, not because you begged harder, but because you finally believed deeper. Heaven rewards alignment, not anxiety. When you move with faith, creation rearranges itself to support you. Eventually you'll look around and realize that your life has become a reflection of everything you once prayed for: peace, clarity, and direction. But the beauty of this stage is that you no longer idolize the blessings. You appreciate them without attachment. You've learned that the goal was never the gift, it was growth. Heaven didn't just want to bless you, it wanted to build you. Now, even in moments of uncertainty, your heart remains steady because you know what's yours can't be lost, and what's gone was never meant to stay. You are the living echo of divine intention now. Your energy carries a frequency that reminds others of home, of peace, of hope, of faith. Heaven called you and you answered not just with words but with transformation. You became the message you once sought. You no longer wait for miracles, you walk as one. There comes a moment when you realize heaven's call was never about reaching a destination, it was about becoming one. You're no longer chasing signs or waiting for answers because you've learned that you are the sign. Everything about you, your patience, your peace, your presence now carries divine language. The world feels quieter, not because the noise stopped, but because you stopped needing its approval. You've returned home to yourself, to that sacred place inside where heaven's voice never fades. Every breath feels intentional now. Every step feels guided. You've stepped into the frequency where trust replaces tension, and faith becomes your native language. The storms that once terrified you now look like milestones. You can trace them like stars in your memory, each one showing you how heaven guided you through darkness without ever letting you fall. You've stopped asking, "Why did I go through that?" and started saying, "But now I understand." Every loss, every delay, every silence was divine architecture, shaping your endurance and deepening your discernment. You don't resent the journey anymore, you revere it. Because through every test, you met the real you, the one heaven always saw, long before the pain tried to hide it. Now you move differently. You speak softly but carry divine authority. You no longer seek validation, you radiate purpose. You've become the kind of person who brings light without trying, who brings peace simply by being. Heaven trusts you now because you've proven that you won't let fear distort your faith. You've learnt that obedience isn't weakness, it's power in its purest form. You walk with quiet confidence, knowing that everything meant for you flows naturally, without force. You've seen how surrender opens more doors than striving ever could. And though life will still have challenges, you've learned not to panic in the unknown. You understand that what feels uncertain is often divine timing in disguise. You've learnt to rest, even when you can't see the outcome, to believe even when there's no evidence yet. You've made peace with mystery. That's how you know you've matured, because you've stopped needing control to feel safe. The same heaven that called you will carry you, always. The same voice that whispered go will whisper rest. You don't fear endings anymore because you've learned that every ending is simply heaven turning the page. The book of your life continues, written by divine hands, filled with grace you didn't have to earn. You walk forward now not out of desperation but devotion. You trust that where you're going has already been prepared and that every prayer you ever whispered is still echoing in the halls of heaven. And so you stand here, steady, whole, awakened. The call you once feared has become the melody of your existence. Heaven called you for a reason, and now you are living proof of that reason fulfilled.